Welcome back to another eBay Sale Freaks ride along video with myself, Michael, and we have Wilf here, who I must say is absolutely killing dead things here at the minute. First of all, the total profit clock for 24 hours, £74 in the last 24 hours, which is profit, which is sick. I mean, if that was your average every day, over £2,000 a month, you know, after taxes, it's like a full-time wage.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's an absolute full-time wage, which is sick. So what's been going on? What have you been doing? Well, what have you been doing differently? Surely you have been increasing listings. You've been doing a lot of product research. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on. What have you been up to, mate? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so still listing away every day, keeping it consistent, not making any big changes so that eBay stay pretty happy. Been looking at some items that are getting returned a lot and thinking about delisting them or changing the listing to make it more appropriate, things like that. I've had a few issues with that recently, but by and large, just chugging away, maintaining my stores, keeping the metrics good. It's all going pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, that's sick. Just to let you guys know, we have some really, if you haven't heard of yet, we have some unreal updates from eBay which will just change drop shipping for the good. So for anyone drop shipping currently, like, this is just insane, an insane update. And if you're new to drop shipping, if this is the way going forward, then this is a good time. Good time to get into dropshipping, but we'll hold off and we'll run through that towards the end of the video. So, well, obviously we spoke about this before. You were using the coupon hunter. You were using the bestseller auto lister, which is basically Sale Freak's AI tool to pick either the best selling items and automatically list them to your store, proven track record that they will have the highest possible chance of selling on your store. And then the coupon hunter, which uses similar technology but strips any items from Amazon that actually have a coupon code, which obviously mean that it will be extra profit. So we price the item up against the actual price on Amazon, but when you go to checkout, which again Sale Freaks does automatically for you, adds the coupon to checkout, you get, I think it's a minimum of £1 or a minimum of 5% discount. So
Yeah, that's right.
it all adds up. And I mean, I can see over the last, since you started drop shipping, just with this tool alone, you've managed to make 450 quid from doing absolutely zero different than what you would ordinarily be doing. So obviously £1.90 in the last 24 hours, but as you can see, it accumulates. 7 or 8 months down the line, you've got 450 quid that you would not have had if you were using sort of regular automation tools or auto order, which wouldn't be able to pick up one. So
I mean, with my sales, when I see a decent number, like a really good number today, like 74, and then the coupon savings on like 35 or something crazy, it's actually quite reassuring that my normal sales just going through to the normal profits are really good. And whenever I get big coupon savings, it's just a bonus. There's no routine to it.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, and I mean, you're not having to do anything extra for it. You're
Exactly.
clicking a button, and the software is doing that all for you behind the scenes. Some items will sell, some won't. Who cares? At the end of the day, as long as more of those items are selling and racking up those profits, racking up those coupon savings, then happy days. So that's really cool. Are you still only using the coupon hunter and the bestseller order lister at the minute? You're
That's
not
right.
in anything else
At the moment, nothing.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'll be honest, there will be a saturation point at some point, probably in the near future, that you might start to find that you'll start to bottom out on those really good items. You've got about 3,000
Definitely.
items at the moment. Coupon Hunter, yes, Coupon Hunter will just keep going on forever and ever and ever, but it's not as not as high chance of selling. There's probably going to be
Yeah.
less of those items selling, albeit when they sell they get more profit, so it certainly balances things out. But with the bestseller auto lister, you probably will find it'll start to bottom out soon. Now the good thing is, behind the scenes, we are developing another tool that will help you basically pick products. And the idea behind that is it's gonna scan certain categories or certain niches, and then cross-reference those products back to eBay, sort of in a similar way that the bestseller auto lister does this, but almost reverse engineered to find the items on eBay and then find if there's similar items or the exact same item on Amazon that are selling. And hopefully, if all goes to plan, bit of a spoiler alert, you should be able just to click into whatever category you want to look at. So for example, if you click beauty, you'll be able to see all the items that we have available based on your criteria that you can filter out before you look at it. So if you want items that are 10 to 20 quid or whatever, not containing any keywords or whatever, we're going to put the filter in place prior to you looking at the items. And rather than spending ages filtering through all these items, running all these scans, they're just going to pop up and you're going to be able to one-click list those products onto your store, which will be absolutely amazing when we have all those categories just there, point and click. And then also when we have seasonal categories, we will do this for like Halloween, Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas, you name it. You can click in and you will one click, point and click, be able to list whatever products you want to list without really having to think about them, and know that they will have a fair chance of selling because of the research has kind of been done in the background for you. So that'll be really cool, and it'll allow you to scale even quicker. So let's have a look at the eBay stores. Let's see if the eBay stores are reflecting how we want them to. Okay, so perfect. Again, the biggest thing I always look for is, are we making new highs? And we're making new highs. So you hit your first ever 500 day and then followed it up by like just over 500 as well. So obviously it is the start of the month when recording this, the 7th of March. So you've probably hit like that kind of payday window, which always seems to be like the sort of weekend around payday, or the Monday or Tuesday after payday seems to be really good.
You can sort of see it here, near a payday here, and there's a slow kind of, the highs are still there, but you can kind of see it happen, and then around payday here, there's definitely a trend change. So yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, yeah. You'll get the odd weird day, which I'm sure you've seen, but all in all, this is kind of like a good trend. You're basically filling that bottom line, so you're realistic. You're not getting any days less than 250 quid. Now you kind of know, you probably know yourself now, if you're hitting around 200 quid, you've already, like, you've done pretty well. You know now, if you have a day where you only hit 50 quid, it's going to be very, very rare. That's the idea. You build up this consistency, and then suddenly you're going to see more days where you're hitting 300, 400, especially if you keep scaling the store. So what happens to people is they get to this point, and then they think they can just stop doing all the things that they did to get them there. So they stop listing, they stop removing the dead items. And what actually happens is eBay don't like this. They like sellers that keep listing new items, taking off the ones that aren't selling, because eBay obviously only makes money when you're selling your items. So naturally new listings will take priority over dead listings, and that's just the way eBay works. So you always want to be listing, you always want to stay active. Obviously there's metrics and everything in the background. If we're talking purely about traction and about consistency of sales, we just need to keep listing, we need to keep scaling. Obviously there used to be a limit, there used to be a ceiling of, how many items can I list a day, or how many items can I list a month, based on my eBay seller limits. We'll talk more about that in the future, but that could be, certainly by the looks of things, a lot easier to navigate going forward. So everything's looking banging here. The impressions are up, conversion rate's down slightly, but we can see that they're actually making more sales. So
then here's our second account. So it's 2 p.m. now. We're at 100 quid on the day for this one, so it's gonna definitely going to hit or go above my kind of average at the moment, so that's all good. We've still got this insane day where I sold,
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
so yeah.
I think it was like three 150, £200 items, which were all on coupon, and I think I made like 140 profit that day, so it was a really, really, really good day.
So that's sick. That's like, yeah, it's like 25% profit in a day, but it's
Yeah.
not like 25% profit like you've made £5. It's like
Yeah,
100 quid in one day, like kind of pays your bills for the month of your like drop shipping bills. If you've
yeah,
got
yeah,
like
literally.
software, you've got like Zik Analytics, bang one day, and you're like you're at break even or better, which is sick. And yeah, just like you say, 93 quid. It's still high. Even if you didn't make another sale today, it's still higher than your lowest day, which was way back on the 6th of February. You know, you're gonna see as things go on, you're gonna see less of those. So the other thing is higher highs, but higher lows as well, which is
Yeah.
great.
I mean, that was something I saw a lot when I was starting out, when I'd look at other people's graphs, and I'm starting to see it with mine now, that the range from top to bottom on each day isn't as huge as it is when I was first starting out, and it definitely makes kind of seeing how a month's going to go a lot easier when there's that consistency, definitely.
It's almost so predictable. Like you basically followed everything that I told you to do, as in just stay consistent, have things listing for you constantly. In the beginning, you do get those spikes. You get like peaks and troughs. You get the days where you're like, shit, I didn't make a sale today. Is my account suspended? Am I banned? Like, what's going on? I didn't make a sale. And then it follows up by a day of like 50 quid or 100 quid, and then the next day it'll be nothing again. You know what I mean? So when you're building that consistency, it gets to the point when you get like 3 to 6 months in, this is what like kind of normal looks like. And then as you can see already, you've got a few 500 days in there. 500 will start to become the norm.
Yep.
It sounds weird, but like it is that simple. It will. eBay in so many ways are so unpredictable in terms of what they will do. Rules, regulations, different things happen and whatever, but the algorithm for the most part, unless they make a weird change and it might take a while to correct, it's pretty consistent. It's
Yep.
pretty consistent, which is what we love to see. But yeah, even at that, your sales are up 55% on the last 31 days, so everything's moving in that direction.
100%.
I mean, 10k sales in a month, still not to be sniffed at. I mean, it's at least £1,000 profit, depending on what your margins are, not including any coupons or anything like that. I think it's
That one, and then nearly £5,000 on the second account.
yeah. I mean, that in itself, like, you know, it's almost a full-time wage already. Full-time wage for a very part-time.
Very, very part time. At the moment, whenever I wake up, I'm doing about an hour of housekeeping stuff, pretty basic things, replying to messages, processing returns, stuff like that, and then crack on.
But yeah, it's all part of the process. You know, you're learning from that as well. There is going to be a point where you might say, okay, I'm making enough profit, I'm going to outsource this to a virtual assistant or whatever. But you know, right now, 6, 7, 8 months in, you know, you're learning the game. You understand what's what's good and what's bad and what you need to do, which I think is fine. And it's still only taking you an hour or so a day, which is pretty cool. I guess is also I mean, if you were messing around and doing things wrong, that would take you longer because you might be fixing mistakes, you might be back and forth with customers. So you must have things fairly streamlined in the way you actually deal with your customer service or your cases or whatever.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, it might take a while longer. So that's cool. But on the sale freak side of things, that's probably pretty much, you know, freeing up your time in terms of the automations there.
Oh yeah. I had a thought. I had a thought the other day where I was like, I've done like 65 sales today. Imagine if today alone I had to pick, pack, send off 65 items. It would be just insane.
100%. And
I think about that every day.
I've been there before when, when selling on eBay. And the thing about it is, you like, if you're doing it as like a proper side hustle, even I wasn't doing like 65, but let's say, I mean, back when I was selling like the Pokemon cards or whatever, I could have been selling, 5, 10, 15 a day. And those were pretty easy to pack up, but like, to be honest, it's still a job, pack a Pokemon card into a hard-backed envelope, get the address on the card, and then I've got to go and stand in the post office for 30 minutes, 40 minutes on my lunch break. And then by the time you get home, you've made more sales, you got to do it all again. So the sales are great, but you're kind of going, oh my God, I'm doing nothing but like packing like shit to take to the post office. So that was one of the big draws for dropship when I figured this out. I was like, this is awesome because I don't have to stand in this post office anymore, and I'm probably very quickly was making more money than what I was, and it was a real grind because I had loads of items that didn't sell. I probably still have them here somewhere, so your good stuff sold really fast, but the stuff that wasn't that great, the market's flooded with it. The beauty about dropshipping is, if we're not selling it, who cares? We don't have it. We can just remove the item, try something else, list something else, and away we go. So that's really cool. Have you had any problems with Veros or anything like that recently?
I've had a few emails from my second account saying this item you've listed is Vero restricted, and as far as I can see from the email, it just takes the item down and it says this will not affect your account in any way.
Yeah.
That's the kind of limit of my interaction with Vero.
I have noticed is, touch wood, I've noticed like over the last 3 months, there hasn't been as many restrictions. There's been more warnings, more item removals, but there hasn't been the 3, 7, 10 day or 30-day restrictions. Now, I did see on one of my accounts they got a 3-day restriction today, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe we're back to doing that again. Maybe they let it cool off for a little while, changing something up. But for the most part, I've seen less of those issues, less where they're restricting the client. And again, by eBay restricting the client from making sales, they're restricting themselves from making money as well. So maybe they're being a bit more lenient on that. Who knows? But I did want to talk about a new one that I seen. So I seen like we'll show it at the end of the video. But I've seen a new one basically which is banning the use of single-use plastics.
Interesting.
Now, I wasn't aware that eBay had brought in this policy, but apparently, I guess to try and be more environmentally friendly, which obviously Amazon aren't, because there's a ton of those items on Amazon. And I'll run through the list at the end of the video. I've got I'll share my screen, show the email, but it's things like cotton tips, baby wipes, I think like confetti and that kind of stuff. So there's like
And are they completely blacklisted? You can't sell them?
Apparently so, yeah.
Wow.
I'll run through the email. I just seen it briefly before jumping on this call, and I was like, oh, that's definitely new. Like, some things it's hard to avoid because with certain Veros and things, the Veros is like the eBay's basically brand protection. So it's like if something's like restricted from sale, or if it's like a brand protected that the brand is registered with eBay, then you can't sell it on eBay. And generally, like you say, you get a slap on the wrist, and sometimes you get a restriction. But the things like, it'll be medicinal products that maybe contain certain ingredients that are restricted. It'll be like knives, for example. You can't sell knives because there's no way to police them being bought by an under 18 or whatever. There'll be like alcohol policy, so things. So yeah, it'll be things like that, and then there'll be other brands that, like, if you're selling certain products, they don't like you. The brand doesn't like you selling them as a third-party seller. So this is just the first time I've ever seen this particular one, which is interesting.
Sounds like they're trying to give themselves a more Etsy appearance, maybe.
More green. I think it should worry about their profits and worry about Amazon rather than like, cutting down the amount of things you can sell. So I can go on Amazon, I can buy a ton of single-use plastics, I can buy some knives, I can buy some alcohol. I mean, what's the problem? I mean, you would think if you were the smaller of the two and you were trying to compete with the other one, it's almost like with most companies, they tend to come up to the level of the other one
Yeah.
rather than like reduce their chances even more.
Yeah, I guess eBay want to be a little bit scandal free, uh,
Maybe,
to
maybe,
try and be the choice for people who are boycotting Amazon and things like that. Maybe.
maybe they don't know the right people or have the right money
Yeah.
to fight these battles. I don't know, but, who knows? But yeah, it brings us on to the other thing because some cases you kind of go right, okay, eBay are stepping up, and then in other cases you're going, well, why are you going backwards? But anyway, so everything looks amazing, mate. Like both accounts flying. Um, I mean, it can only get better from here. Tell me a bit about. We spoke in the last video. What about Amazon accounts? How's Amazon treating you? We're talking about Amazon. So
Yeah,
what's
not too bad, not too bad. The way I've got my accounts, how I generate my new accounts at the moment, probably once I get the email that one of them is closed, I can have that account slot replaced in about 10-15 minutes, which is really useful. Um, and yeah, it's not been too bad at the moment. I did notice, I think probably a month or so, maybe 2 months ago, I had loads of them just dropping like flies, which was creating some problems with tracking and things like that. But at the moment, it's being pretty rock solid, no huge problems, and the odd one goes, replace it, back on, no issues really.
so like most people? I think we talked about. Wait, I mean, we talked a little bit about in the last video about the old Amazon accounts and things. But most people, when they start drop shipping, they have one Amazon account. And I always say, listen, you should probably have two or three. Um, for the most part, people will say, I'll just see how I go with one. The thing about eBay dropshipping is, if you're doing all these things that we tell you to do, the sales will escalate quite quickly, and
Mm.
then, or you know it, you'll have an Amazon account restricted for reseller policy or whatever, or sometimes it's just like suspicious activity, and you're actually, it's just because we're shipping 10 products in a day to 10 different addresses.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be an algorithm that might think that that looks a bit fishy, because that's not your average, or even not even your average, but just your majority Amazon buyer is just buying stuff and sending it to their own house, and they're not
Hmm.
ordering 10 items a day. They're maybe doing it once a week, once every couple of weeks. So it is good to have more items, or sorry, more Amazon accounts. Now, you're at a stage now, how many sales are you doing per day? How many actual transactions are you doing per day?
Probably 60, 64 in the last 24 hours.
Or that's like, I mean, I'm still amazed. I mean, I'm amazed, not amazed because I don't believe in your ability. I'm just amazed. I'm amazed that it's kind of, you've got to that point fairly quickly. You know, if I would say like the average drop shipper, where how long it takes them to get to your point, you're probably like way ahead of the curve. But I do get the feeling you literally just kind of followed the protocol and stuck to it and
Yeah, I
carried
mean,
on.
I felt a few times the urge to kind of tinker and change little tiny things, but I think the less time I spend changing things while it's working, probably the better. So,
There's a difficult patch, right? I know we're kind of talking about the Amazon accounts, and I'll come back to that. But there's like, we spoke about those days and times where you got like one sale today, two sales tomorrow, no
mm,
sales for a couple of days. In and around like 200 items, 300 items, people are new to drop ship, and they're maybe thinking, well, I made like 20p, 30p today, and then tomorrow I'll make nothing. And they're thinking like, this is not working. This is going to cost me money. I'm not going to make enough profit. And they, instead of like keep scaling and keep going with the
mm,
plan of the 1,000 items, 2,000 items, 3,000 items, they stay sort of spinning their wheels,
yep,
and they spin their wheels for months. They're scared to list more items, and actually it's doing more damage than it is good, because then they've got the same items up. They're not adding any more. They're not removing any, and it's just stale.
mm,
So like the biggest mistake you can make is not just leaning into the traction and just getting to that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 items as you're up to. I imagine in a couple of months' time you're probably going to be at 4 or 5,000 items, probably doing double the amount of profit, double the amount of sales. It is that straightforward as long as you're keeping all the metrics right.
Yeah.
You're giving good customer service. But that's where I find just a lot of people just spin their wheels and then decide this doesn't work, when that's not the case. It's just like any business. You wouldn't.
There's definitely like a escape velocity where you gotta get to a certain point where it becomes really, really worth your time, and well, worth not very much of your time, but it's it's definitely worth it. You don't spend too long doing it.
Absolutely. People think like, okay, I'm going to pay more on eBay because I've got a bigger store subscription, or going to pay for listings, or got to pay for a bigger Sale Freaks package, or whatever that case may be, and it worries them, it scares them that they're not doing the right thing. I've seen it so many times over and over again. They're stuck on the 250 items of a basic store on eBay or whatever. It's just not the right way to do things. Maybe a bad analogy, but if I bought a shop, if I thought, right, okay, I'm going to sell stuff in a bricks and mortar shop, and I've got 4 walls and I've got a ton of shelves. The reality is, if I go in and I stock one of those shelves with 10, 20 items, I'm probably not going to be making money. You know what I mean? I'm probably not going to cover my overheads. Like, the idea is that you want to basically stock all your shelves. You want your shop to basically have as much chance of selling all these products as you possibly can. So the reality is, with 3,000 items, you've got a much higher chance of selling a percentage of those items multiple times than you will if you've got 250 items, of which 150, 170 of those items someone else has listed as well, and someone else has got more traction on eBay than you because they're listing every day and doing that stuff. But anyway, so it's just one of the biggest things that I see when people kind of have that stumbling block. They're scared to kind of keep pushing on, but the reality is, you need to. It's like, I don't know, it's like anything. It's like weight loss, or like going to the gym. If you want to be a bodybuilder, like, you're not going to go for 2 days and like look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're going to have to,
I think it's another it's another case where if you're standing still, you're actually going backwards.
Yeah, 100%. You actually are. That's like no better way of putting it. Like, if you do nothing, your store will decline. Like, even my store, if I've got a store that does £3,000 worth of sales per day, if I do nothing, and it has happened in the past where I've like just stopped listing or stopped removing all items, and then I'll suddenly see like a decline. It's because I'm doing nothing. I still have the same store, I still have the same items, I still have the same metrics, I still have the same traffic. Well, maybe not the same traffic, because the traffic comes from doing things that eBay like. See, if I start to list on that store again and start to remove dead items, it's like almost like bang, the sales go straight back up again, right to where they were again. So like, doing nothing will just push you further down the ranks. Yeah. So back to the Amazon question: 65 sales a day, 64 sales a day. How, on average, you're probably, let's say for the month or the week, 415 divided by 7, so 60 sales. Yeah, so it's good 60 sales a day. How many Amazon accounts are you spreading those across to?
Running like 4 at the moment.
About 4, okay. So that's seemingly that's still pretty high per Amazon account. You can either play a cautious game, or you can play the game of Amazon might close an account and I'll just open another one back up again.
I've been thinking recently it might be worth me getting more, purely because the wider I spread my Amazon accounts, the less likely each one is going to get closed, because each one will be doing less sales.
The only reason for you not to get more Amazon accounts or have more ready is if you're going to do nothing and your sales aren't going to go forward, but you're not going to do that. So
very true.
You're going to need to accommodate for like 100 sales a day very, very soon, I would imagine.
Definitely gonna increase it.
Four Amazon accounts, you're comfortably putting those orders through, which is cool.
I mean, the accounts I'm using they're made on, each one's on a different IP, in a different name, different address, so they're all kind of not linked in any way. So It's at three act. My bad. Three active. This one is inactive for some reason. I'm not sure.
Got you.
I have to blur it all, but yeah.
Yeah, just plying orders through those, and yeah, it is. It is just a case of, you know what. It is a strange one because again, we talk about eBay. Why do you not like? Why do you not like us selling and making you money? Like, why are you restricting accounts and things like that? Same way with Amazon. Just take our money. Why close the accounts in some cases? But I think their biggest problem is some of the lower priced items actually cost them
Definitely
more money than what they make to actually fulfill them on the
I
road.
mean,
And
I've had a sale recently where the payment I made to Amazon was 69p. I'm thinking, you can't ship something for 69p next day. That's not possible. That's where they're making their losses.
The van's already on the road with a shit ton of other parcels in there, but you still have so many overheads, staff, someone picking that, packing that, putting it into the van, and whatever else. So yeah, you're right. There's going to be some products that are going to be loss making for Amazon. And if we're putting pressure on their logistics system, then I can kind of get it. But the reality is, as we know, just open a new account.
Pretty much.
There's no real issue with that. So I guess realistically, it's just like an algorithm picks it up and spits it out, and then you can just open a new account. But yeah, I mean, VPN. Which VPN are you using actually to do this?
I'm using Proton VPN.
Okay.
This one going up here.
So again, I was always kind of told VPNs were a bit of a no-no. Maybe more so for eBay, but maybe
there's
actually.
I could be wrong in this, and I could make an absolute fool of myself. But there's if you're paying for a VPN, the flag which websites like eBay and Amazon see, I think is different to using a free VPN. So if you use a free VPN and go on Netflix and try and look at American content, it's going to say you're using a VPN, get off. If I do that with this and go to the United States, it has no idea. It actually thinks I'm in the United States. So I think that might be a slight difference, possibly. I'm not sure.
Gotcha. I didn't even know you could do that for Netflix. Anything in the USA, we're watching.
I haven't tried, but maybe.
I know that they do this stupid thing where they'll take it off like for a while.
Yeah.
Those dumbasses. Which I had a big, not to go into too much detail, but had a big argument with my daughter, basically trying to tell her this happens from time to time because she wanted to watch a particular movie, and I was like, it's not on Netflix anymore.
Nightmare.
Like, it is on Netflix because I've watched it 10 times, and she had, and I was like, but it's not anymore, and yeah, you have to live with these things.
Send them an email. They got to sort it out.
Back in my day, we had the VHS tape, and it was there in your hand. You could put it into the system and play it. So pros and cons of everything these days. But yeah. I mean, there's really it boils down to how many hoops do you want to jump through now. Well, I would imagine you've got in one hand I'm making over £1,000 a month, versus in the other hand, I'm gonna have to like create new Amazon accounts. This one got closed, So for me, it's always been, I would rather still be making money than say, okay, forget about this £1,000 that I'm making because I can't really be bothered opening another Amazon account after Amazon account after Amazon account. So like, it just depends really what your appetite is for making £1,000 a month, doing an hour's work a day. Versus
my thinking at the moment is that making in the last 30 days £1,000, nearly £500. That is a really great place for me. I'm happy with that. £2,000 would be amazing. If I can get to £2,000 a month and then do everything in my power to make it as consistent as possible, that's the exact kind of place I want to be. So
yeah,
doing everything I can to make sure that account doesn't get suspended or this or that, any kind of variables.
I agree with that, and I don't like touching on the negatives too much in terms of Uh, Again, weird eBay logic is that sometimes actually when you're doing a lot better in sales, they will then start asking you for all the invoices and all the, whatever you need to
Mm.
provide. That could be a ball ache in itself. Um, and the workload as well. So you might be happy and say like, okay, if I scale to £2,000 profit, I can actually do my 9 to 5 job, or I can do another side hustle, or I can do more of my hobbies and still only have to spend a couple of
Mm.
hours a day. Whereas at my level, when I have multiple accounts and I scale, and there's a lot more work, there's a lot more to manage, or I have to manage staff, or
Mm.
um, if you have a problem at scale, problems become 10x, So everyone's different, and I think that's a good way to look at it because I think, like, the average person, even how I was back then, I kind of had this goal to be making as much as I was making in my 9 to 5 job. And when I kind of hit that, I was like, do you know what? I'm happy with this. I've kind of done all right. Then other circumstances led me to kind of go full time because I had other income streams and whatever else. But I think it's a really good way of looking at it and kind of assessing how much time you're making off it versus how much hassle you're going to get. For example, right now it might be okay for you to kind of juggle around 4 or 5, maybe 10 Amazon accounts, and if one closes, open up another one, great. Whereas at a larger scale, that might become a bit more of a pain in the ass that you might not
I
want to
think
deal
it.
with.
I think it was Grant that was saying how whenever anyone starts, they're always like, right, I want to make £300 a month, and then I'm fine, I'm done, because they want to set their expectations in a really achievable place, and be
Yeah,
happy with that, which is amazing. And £300 a month is amazing, and then you get there, and then there's no barrier to carry on, and it's quite a I guess it's quite a freeing moment because you think, wow, I mean, however much I make is really in my control here. You can just keep going. There's no hard barrier stopping you really.
yeah, exactly. And that barrier again, we'll get onto it, is about to be lifted, which is really really weird. Well, if you obviously haven't got the email yet, but I'll share something with you. So
Go
if you
for it.
can, if you can just end your screen share. Okay, so this is the email that we've started to see across the board the last couple of days.
Whoa.
Okay, so eBay are basically removing everyone's seller limits, which is absolutely insane. So anyone new to eBay or new to this channel or whatever, when you open an eBay account, generally eBay will give you a selling limit, which basically means you're restricted to how many items you can list and how much value those items can total up to. So for example, you can list 10 items up to £100 in value, and that's listed and sold. Okay, so if I list 5 items at £10 each, that's 5 items listed, that's £10, or sorry, that's £50 in my total allowance. If I
Right.
sell all those 5 items, that would then be 10 listed and 100 sold. So listed and sold, which means I couldn't then list any more items until the limits reset in the beginning of the month, and then I can list again. Okay,
Yep.
but the limits don't compound. So if I have 100 items listed today, it doesn't mean I can then next month I can get up to 200. It is
Hmm.
the same items that be listed. So what generally would have happened is, with good behavior and whatever else, your eBay listings limits would have organically increased. You would either get an email to say, you're doing really well, blah blah blah. We've increased your limits from 10 and £100 to 100 items and £1,000, or
Hmm.
whatever, or whatever. Now, the average would have been probably 500 items and a couple of £1,000 worth um, of total value. So with any established accounts that I've been seeing, they get this email, which is removing the sell limit. This means you can list all the items you need to further grow on eBay. What should you know? There are no changes to your fees, so obviously all the fees are staying the same as it stands. Even though your selling limit has been removed, there have been no changes to your fees. Increased listing volume could take you over your free listing allotment, which basically means if you've got free listings or you've got a subscription to a store, you'll still pay for those listings that you add in extra. It's always been the case anyway, so again, no change. Other policies to keep in mind: please keep in mind that seller standards and service metrics will continue to be used to monitor seller performance. So no change there. We're adjusting selling limits in phases. We're closely monitoring the impact of this change and may make adjustments as needed. We appreciate your patience and understanding as we work to improve our platform, provide the best possible experience for our users. Now, number one, the first thing I thought was, this is absolutely amazing for dropshippers, especially new dropshippers that might have a hard time getting limits. I don't know at this point in time, if you open a new eBay account, will it be unlimited, or will you still have limits until you become established, and then they'll kind of take the training wheels off as such? I don't know. I haven't got that experience yet. What I do know is not everyone's had this email, because we know Wilf hasn't had the email. He has been selling for over 6 months, so I imagine it's only going to be a matter of time, because like I said, I seen some people getting it on the 5th of March.
As they said, they're changing it in phases, so I guess it'll be rolled out.
On the 5th of March, there was nothing in the USA. Last night, I started seeing people tell me that they got limit increases in the USA. I have some accounts that have been inactive and not selling for the last 6 months. Personal accounts, actually, I don't actually use them to sell anyway. They're ones that I use for buying. They haven't got any limit increases. I imagine you need to be actively selling to get it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was thinking was, is this a trap? Because one thing we teach people to do when dropshipping is not to go crazy and list thousands and thousands of items every day or every month, because you want to still grow naturally. So what I would say on this is, if you have this power, with what is it to say, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. So don't hang yourself on the rope that eBay's giving you here, basically. So yes, you can list more. Do not get greedy. Stick to the plan. What it basically means is, you can still just push up those ceilings and you can start to list.
It means the plan works better, but stick to it.
The plan works better, the plan works longer. You're not capped. Everyone's on the same playing field.
Yeah.
Essentially, okay? So that's a really good thing. Now, could this change tomorrow and eBay change their minds? Absolutely. They've said it themselves in the message. They're trying to. It seems like they're trying to figure it out. Like we said earlier in the video, in some ways they might be trying to step up to where Amazon are. Obviously, with Amazon, you don't have a limit; you just pay fees. Which, I mean, I always wondered why there was fees and why they were so variant from person to person. Yes, I get there's an element of security. There's an element of keeping the community safe. But you're either a good seller or an honest seller, or you're not. So I think fraudulent people and things like that can get caught out very, very quickly. So I don't see the reason why punishing people with a listing limit makes sense. For the most part, this won't affect normal sellers, because normal sellers don't have thousands of different SKUs to list.
Yeah.
Unless you're a big company. So it is a strange move by eBay, and it almost suggests.
It feels like a move directly at enabling dropshippers.
It's weird, right? So
it's really weird.
So the next thing is flagged accounts. So accounts deemed to be dropshipping accounts. Back in the day, 4 years ago, eBay started flagging accounts, and that was basically different words for it: flagging them, restricting them, whatever it is, suppressing your traffic because they deemed you as a dropshipper because you were connected directly via an API to the dropshipping software. So it was very obvious. Now we use non-API software that kind of just makes you appear like a normal user without kind of saying, "Hey, I'm dropshipping." However, flagged accounts could not get an increase. You couldn't get an organic increase, and when you phoned up eBay or you went through the support channel where you can request an increase, flagged accounts could not get increased. I know people that have been trying since 2019 to get an increase have not been able to get it. All these people have had their limits removed, which, I don't know, is it someone in this eBay department that's like, you know, they've decided on this, like in the boardroom, everyone's went, yeah, remove the limits, and they've kind of forgotten about the people that they didn't give limit increases to in the first place.
It is either the fact that they've forgotten that there's these flagged... They've forgotten to remove these flagged accounts from these limit removals, or they finally decided that, you know, here's a few dropshipping accounts. They've all got 99% positive feedback. The metrics are good. The customers are happy. We're making loads of money with these people. Maybe let's just give them some air. I mean, the only thing that I can think that they don't like is that Amazon packaging shows up. But
the other strange thing that's happened prior to this, and we haven't spoken about this, but Amazon tracking numbers are now convertible on eBay. And in the drop-down box, it actually says Amazon Logistics, so you can.
It's over then.
So
eBay love dropshipping.
Yeah, I mean there is the.
Wait,
we used
that's
it as
huge.
We used it as an excuse so many times in the past where, you know, you can do third-party fulfillment. So I could have my inventory on Amazon as an Amazon FBA seller that I am. I could have my inventory on Amazon, and also I could list those same items on eBay, and when the sale comes through, I can tell Amazon that I want this fulfilled to this customer's address, and they'll just instead of charging me an Amazon selling fee, they'll charge me like the third-party logistics fee.
Right.
So it's always something that was around, and it was always an excuse we gave to people. Oh, you know, I got an item in an Amazon package, and yeah, I sell on Amazon and eBay. Sorry you feel that way, but this is life. But it's almost like eBay are like, well, this is a thing. We do third-party fulfillment as well. People do fulfill from Amazon or Amazon Logistics, and maybe it's a case of, do you know what? Maybe it is a case of, you know what? If we are going to tolerate dropshippers, why not? Let's just make it safer for the customers. We've had so many complaints, or, you know, so many issues with these other trackings that, you know, convert the Amazon tracking for eBay, which again are also accepted by eBay. So there is someone up there making a decision saying, we accept this and this will work. But maybe they've just thought, you know what? If we can't beat them, join them, give them big limits. I'll let the customer decide. I don't know. Who knows?
I've been thinking recently. I mean, if I worked at eBay, it wouldn't take me 5 minutes to find a dropshipper. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't take me 5 minutes to stop them fully. Like, if they Google Aqualine's, some of Aqualine, like there's some eBay forum threads about it, and most of them are in support of it. Being like, all the people in the comments are like, yeah, it's fine. I always get Aqualine tracking, but it's quite clear that that's what's happening with Aqualine. And Aqualine is still a verified delivery supplier is crazy.
Blue Air Express.
Yeah.
Whatever other ones like that. There's other very smaller ones as well. But yeah, I mean, if you were someone in eBay's trust and safety department and you really want to get rid of dropshippers, I mean, the first thing you would do is YouTube, how to find other dropshippers on eBay, like product research on eBay, Zik Analytics video will tell you basically this is how you spot a dropshipper.
Yeah.
Off picture, Amazon picture, copy and paste the title into Amazon. Before you know it, you've got thousands and thousands of sellers.
Or, I mean, even just cross-check when a listing's made, if the exact same listing is on Amazon. I mean, SaleFreaks itself does that. There's no reason why eBay, this billion-dollar company, can't do that.
100%, yeah. But I've had emails from eBay customer service or from support, basically saying and using the language Amazon and drop shipping, and whilst it's not strictly forbidden it is frowned upon kind of language, so they know
Yeah.
it's there. It's almost like, do you know what? It's like I don't know. I always come up with these weird analogies. It's like, do you know, like if your kid's gonna go off drinking alcohol at under 18, they say kind of like, well, I'd rather he do it in the house than like
Yeah.
be out
Yeah.
on the streets. It's almost like that. Like we'll just let them do it, but we'll control it a lot better, and
Yeah.
we'll let them list more, but they can use the right tracking and whatever else. Who knows? We're just speculating,
I
but
mean,
this
I
is
think
like
all of these changes definitely contribute to it being a good time to invest in this and get this started, because it doesn't look, by these changes that you've told me today, which I'm quite happy about, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere in the next, like, it's not going to die out tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? There's stuff moving in the right direction, definitely.
exactly, mate. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. It depends. I mean, like I say, we could wake up tomorrow and it could be a different story. Whatever. Who knows? What the things I could see happening, and whilst this is insane for dropshippers, I always think with like a level head and like what could possibly happen. So there's obviously been the new HMRC laws about declaring income and things like that. Could it be that Amazon or eBay go down the same road as Amazon? Like if you're opening a new account, or they may request for verification. And what Amazon do when you're opening a seller account with Amazon, you have to go on a Zoom call with a member of staff and answer a ton of questions. Then
Wow.
actually hold up your passport and your bank statement, and then send in copies of those through, DocuVerify or whatever, one of those systems. And then you have to be approved as a seller. Then you have to link your bank account and your credit card, and they check that that's all legit and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be registered as a sole trader or a limited company before they'll even open the account, so that you can't be like just a regular seller on Amazon,
Yeah.
unless you're actually registered as self-employed in some way, shape, or form. So I'm wondering, like, do they go down this road and say, okay, list everyone's limits? Or it seems stupid they would make the change first and then do that afterwards. But we are talking about eBay, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll have to just see.
yeah, so that's one thing I'm thinking. Could they go down that road? The other thing I'm thinking about is, rather than like MC011s being like an almost like what if, will they just have like a threshold? Once someone sells X amount of products, they will get an
Yeah.
MC0. They will get asked for documentation for purchase of their stock or whatever else, and at that point then there's a decision to be made. Now, however, I've got through multiple MC011s just by actually showing Amazon invoices, the correct, the Aqualine tracking, and all that's happened is that the account's been flagged for dropshipping, and what that means is you need to list more items. Like, I've got a flagged account, it does fine. It was my main account for a long time. I've got other smaller flagged accounts. They probably do about 30 to 50% of the sales of a non-flagged account, just because they kind of crush your traffic a little bit. But it doesn't prevent you from selling, especially if you get flagged with low limits. Your account's finished. You just can't compete with 1,000 items or 500 items if you've got a flagged account versus someone like yourself that's unflagged. It's just not doable. But if you have no limits, it's like, I always say to people, like, a flagged account with massive limits is hands down better than any unflagged account with like 5,000 item limit or 3,000 item limit or something. So it's interesting, because my first thought was like, this is great news, and then I was like, hold on a second, like, now loads of people can compete more with me or my account. So swings and roundabouts, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, really insane, interesting news. Lastly, the other thing that I think that they could do, something similar to what they do in the USA, is they're saying there's no change to fees at the minute. But what I imagine they could do is they could create like a higher tier for the stores. So obviously at the minute you would be on a feature store or a personal account um, with no fees, for example.
Yeah.
Obviously we've talked about this in the past, but America, United States have a slightly different. Let me just find this. So USA have a slightly different tier. It's actually better for the lower tier, but worse for the higher tier. Again, eBay doing eBay stuff. Um, so let's see here. So eBay in America, they have $4.95, which is the starter store. That gives you £250 a month limit, so that's equivalent to our basic store. In the UK, we pay
Right.
£35 for a basic store, I think.
Mhm.
And then you've got the basic store, which is £21.95, which gives you 1,000 free listings, albeit with a higher insertion fee than say the feature store, which in the UK is about £100 including tax, which is about 1,500 listings. Then you've got the premium store, which you can have 10,000 listings on. Yeah, 10,000 listings, and anything over and above that's 10 cents. Is that ringing in your background? Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. And then you've got the Anchor store, which is 25,000 listings. Now, in the UK, the Anchor store is like 500, 600 quid, including tax, and it's unlimited.
Okay.
Okay, so
Interesting.
what they have above this is the Enterprise store. So actually, it doesn't make much sense for people to go way higher in the USA
Yeah.
with this kind of setup, because the Enterprise store is 3K, and I actually think you have to pay it up front.
Right.
I think you have to pay it up front for the year, if I'm correct. I'm not going to be able to see it because I'm not going to be able to log into the USA in the store. Most things, none of it makes sense because it's eBay, right? But normally on a package like this, like the more you buy, the cheaper it becomes, right?
Mhm.
So like even on the premium store, you get 10,000 listings. Which you double that up and then half that again. It's still only about $200. Whereas if you jump to 25,000, it's $299.
Yeah.
So having having three premium stores on three different eBays gives you 30,000 listings for $180.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have them all in one store, it's $300. Doesn't make sense. And then if you had four Anchor stores, four different eBay accounts, your 4 times 300's like what, 12 no, yeah, $1,200. Whereas if you want them all in the one store, it costs you $3,000. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
100%.
So could they bring that in the UK? Possibly. It's always been like way skewed anyway. I don't know why the UK and the USA are so different in terms of these fees anyway. This package here, the premium one with 10,000 listings, like if they had this in the UK, this would be awesome for the people that are like
Mhm.
unflagged. Um, it's cheaper than, for example, in the UK it's 100 quid and you get 1,500 listings free. In the USA it's $60, which is about 50 quid. You get 10,000. It's like
Mm.
7 times more, 6 times more, whatever that is, of the amount of listings you get for free. It just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. When you see like big insane changes like that, I wonder they're gonna bring like a lot of this stuff into line. Who knows? It's eBay. Um, Whatever. We'll wait and see because it's completely out of our control. But it's worth thinking about, I guess, a little bit just in case.
Yeah.
Um, but whilst the floodgates are open, I would say anyone out there, it's a good time to take advantage. If you're sitting on the sidelines and you've got big limits, you're sat there not listing every day, I would take advantage of it now. I really would. last thing I wanted to go through then was this weird little policy that I didn't know existed. So, single-use plastics. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the environment. I don't want to harm the environment. I'm all for the environment or whatever. But I certainly wouldn't be against selling a lot of these things. That's for sure. Let the customer decide if they want to save the environment or not. Which is a weird move by eBay because it seems they restrict so many different things. So yeah, single-use plastics, items that are used once or for a short period of time before being thrown away. Single-use plastic products are not allowed. SUPs include the following: so checkout bags for groceries, cutlery such as forks, knives and spoons, straws and stirrers, food and beverage containers. By the way, absolutely hate paper straws. Ridiculous.
They are.
They're the worst thing, one of the worst things in the world, especially if you have kids. Those paper straws don't last 2 seconds, basically. Food and beverage containers, plates and lids. No more paper plates, no more parties. The fun's over. No more cigarette filters. No more cotton bud sticks. I mean, a lot of this stuff, like, you would look at that and think, like, surely, like, some of it's recyclable as well. Maybe not.
Just add recyclable, eco-friendly to your product listings.
Maybe paper plates are okay, but plastic plates aren't. I don't know. Balloon sticks and ties. I feel like they're really focusing on kids' birthday parties, aren't they? They've got the
trying to ruin your eighth birthday.
We've got the party bags. We've got the cutlery. We've got the straws. We've got the plates. We've got maybe not the cigarette filters. We've got
where are we going to buy all this from? Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the balloons. We've got the wet wipes. No cleaning your kids' faces anymore. Sanitary
Confetti.
tampons, applicators that contain plastic. I don't know whether that's only things that contain plastic. Surely. I mean, sure. I don't know. Are we getting into a territory I don't want to get into right now? But surely, like, there is no other way of having those being a one-use product. I don't know. It seems weird.
No, I think it's the qualifier is that contain plastic.
That contain plastic. So we're going to go with all that. Non-biodegradable plastic tea bags.
I've not experienced that in my life.
I shall not have a plastic tea bag in my house. I'm saying that, like, God knows what those little bags are made of. They maybe are contain plastic, who knows? And confetti. So it's heavy on the party scene, like, isn't it? But yeah, so weird one. I didn't notice it. I didn't see any kind of like newsletter that this was going to come in or whatever else. So and eBay have said that we embrace sustainable practices as part of our commitment to operate with integrity. This policy helps to increase awareness of single-use plastics and how eBay customers can help protect the environment while compliant with applicable environmental legislation, regulations and requirements. Please see our sustainable commerce page. If you want, this is the sustainable commerce page. I guess you can just look in the help pages.
It's looking pretty box ticker.
It looks like that, yeah. Yes. Guess what? We're drop shipping from Amazon, and they package everything 3 or 4 times. Not all are bad, they're electric. Whatever. But yeah, on that note, there's the head. There's the culprit. There's the culprit.
Come on, Renee.
Sort it out. Let us have our confetti back.
Kids crying.
I bet you. Do you know what? I bet you I'll see this. It's one of those things. It'll be eBay all over. It'll be one rule for one and one for everything else. What do you see?
You mean eBay US?
No. I mean, like, I better not see any confetti listed.
Oh, right. Okay, biodegradable Biodegradable. Okay, so just add the word biodegradable and you're absolutely fine.
Yeah, maybe, is it?
I think it's plastic confetti. Look, paper confetti that's recyclable. Paper, edible and dried.
Don't know. It doesn't specify though. White plastic carrier bags, like I'm like caught red-handed. Like
These are plastic.
But I thought you were allowed to sell them as long as you charge for them, you know. But, yeah.
5p surcharge on eBay fees. Okay, that is looking pretty plastic.
Look, come on, eBay, sort it out. You're banning my plastic bags and allowing all this single use. Well, I suppose this could be classed as multiple use. This is the problem, eBay. You're not clear. You're not clear. Anyway, on that note, I think
Wonderful.
we'll end on this lovely little.
That is an hour and 6 minutes we've done there. This is the Cell Freaks podcast now.
It is, yeah. That's what we'll turn it into. But yeah, eBay, sort it out. Stop restricting things. Although we've always got a big enough choice because your competitors are bigger than you. So we've always got enough to choose from. And on that note, yeah, we'll finish it up. Thanks if you've managed to make it to the end.
Yeah, amazing.
Here is some dinosaur confetti pictures for you.
Amazing.
And we'll catch you on the next video.
Perfect. Cheers, guys. See ya.